you're looking to step foot into the world of using delay pedals but don't know where to start, in this video I'm going to show you how to play 5 iconic delay-soaked guitar riffs and how to dial in those sort of delay tones. So delay is an effect that a lot of guitar players can maybe feel a little bit scared of, because if you get your delay settings wrong, it can sound pretty bad. So I'm going to show you how to get some great delay sounds. And I'm going to be using a brand new pedal in this video. I'm going to be using this Utopia delay from Anasounds. So the Utopia delay is an analog delay with a couple of modern features. It's got a built-in preamp, it's got a tap tempo, and a couple of other cool hidden features as well. This was built by my buddy Alex from Anasounds, and he sent me this thing to check out, and it's a really, really cool delay pedal. So before I tell you about this pedal, I just want to let you guys know that this is a sponsored video today. So Anasounds are paying me to make this video and they provided me with the Utopia delay. But as always, all the thoughts and opinions in the video are my own. So before I show you the riffs that we're going to talk about, I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about this pedal and show you all of the different options you have available. So even though this is an analog delay, it has some kind of digital functionality as well. So when we think of analog delays, we think of some classic things like the Boss DM2. That, in my opinion, is a delay that's quite hard to beat. But there's a few things that are missing, which this pedal actually has, that kind of elevate that analog delay sound that little bit more. So on the surface, obviously, first of all, we've got to say how good this thing looks, because we've got these wooden tops on the pedals that just look fantastic, and they're really 3D and textural, so they're very nice to look at. So we have quite a simple layout really, but this does a lot. So we have the mix control here. What this does is this blends between our wet and dry signal. Up here we have the feedback control. This is like the amount of repeats. So the higher you set the feedback control, the longer the delay effect goes on for. And when it's up full, it will kind of go into that crazy analog delay self-oscillation thing we love. This is the time, so this is how fast or slow the delay is. This goes from, in the fastest, 80 milliseconds, so you can use that as a really nice slapback, up to a maximum of 1 second. So it's quite a long delay. And then in the middle here, we have the bliss control. Now this is something that really makes this pedal stand out from other analog delays, because around there we have 3 different segments on the controls. So in the first segment, this adds some kind of tape modulation, kind of like a tape echo. In the second part, we get a chorusing effect, and in the higher part, we get a vibrato effect. So we can have some subtle or intense modulation onto our delays as well. If you don't want to use that, you can just leave it in the 0 position like so. Over here, we have a preamp. This has a 3-position toggle switch, which is off, on for the delay tails, and always on even when the pedal is off, and the kind of gain control for that preamp. This is based on the classic Echoplex preamp that everyone loves. It's got a few little tweaks to Alex's spec, but it's kind of based loosely on that design. What's really cool is you can leave it in this position, which is always on. So even when you're not using the pedal at all, when the pedal is bypassed, you'll still get the push from the preamp. So you can leave it in the 0 position, it'll give you like a little push, or you can crank it up and actually use it to push the front end of your amp. You can actually get some quite nice overdrive sounds from just that preamp alone. Then over here we have the subdivision switch. In the center position, it's just quarter notes. This side is 1/8 notes, and this side is dotted 1/8 notes. And then underneath that, we have a tone control that you can use to brighten or darken your delay tones. This is a tilt filter with a 540 hertz pivot point. So 540 is kind of the point where you go left or right from, you know, highs and lows, or bright and darken the tone from that point. The bypass switch is to turn the pedal on and off, and the tap tempo switch is to tap your tempo. Tap tempo switch will override whatever the time control is set to. And the cool thing as well is if you hold the tap tempo switch, it ramps up the feedback, so it automatically goes into that self-oscillation thing as well. So you can do that by holding a foot switch. There's also some cool stuff going on with the LEDs, as you'll see when I'm playing. This LED is just to tell you whether the pedals are off. This LED will pulse according to the tempo, so obviously whether you tap that or whether you dial it in with this control. And then the Anasounds logo in the middle actually has an LED underneath that, and that will pulsate based on the speed of the modulation effect. So the higher we push our modulation, the more this pulsates in the middle as well. So there's a couple of different lighting signals we can use for the pedal. This is just a mono pedal, so in, out, 9V DC. There's no MIDI on this, no stereo outs, nothing fancy because it doesn't need it. It's designed as a simple analog pedal for the modern player. If you like your vintage style delays, this is great because you don't need all those extra features. If you're someone like me that just uses a couple of different delay sounds, you don't really need MIDI, you don't really need stereo. There are products on the market that do that if that's what you're looking for, but if you're just looking for a great vintage analog delay with some additional features, this is really hard to beat. So I'm going to plug this in now, and I'm going to show you the riffs that I've prepared to show you how to get started with delay. Alright, so gear-wise, I'm using this Chapman Guitars ML3 Pro X for this video. This is plugged into the Blackstar Studio 10 6L6, which is running completely clean, and that's running via the 2 Notes Torpedo Captor X. So the first riff I'm going to show you is for the song Where the Streets Have No Name by U2. This is probably one of the most iconic delay riffs in the world, and it sounds like this. So here's I've got the Utopia set for this sound. The mix I've got at 2 o'clock because I want quite a lot of that delay sound blended in with my clean signal. And I've also got the feedback at 3 o'clock. Doing that allows the feedback to carry on. So when I'm playing, we get that kind of washy delay sound over everything. The time is set to 1 o'clock, but I've also tap tempo matched this with a metronome like I've done for all of these. So this is tap tempoed to 126 BPM, which is what the song is, but that's roughly there on the control knob. The bliss I've got set to just above 0 because we want a little bit of modulation. Preamp is off. The tone I've got to about 1 o'clock, and this is a dotted 8th note rhythm. So now I'm going to show you how to play this riff, and it's very, very simple, and even simpler sounding without the delay. The delay actually makes this sound quite complicated. So to play this, you're barring across the 10th fret on the B and E strings. You're playing the 10 on the E first, followed by the B. Then we're playing the 12 on the G. Then we're playing the 11 on the G, and the 12 on the G again, and then the 10 on the B. And that's all there is to it, those 6 notes. This is in 6/8 time, so you're actually playing 6 notes every bar. It's just that repeated over and over again. Now without the delay, that sounds very simple. If I turn on the delay, then we get the sound of the song. You'll notice I was holding it down as a chord the entire time and just moving my 3rd finger off. I'm kind of doing this shape. I'm just using my 3rd finger on and off. That allows that really washy sound to happen, especially when the delay kicks in, because every note rings. And that's all there is to it. It's one of U2's most iconic songs, and probably one of the most iconic delay riffs in the world, and it's just 6 notes. The second riff I'm going to show you is from the Police track, Walking on the Moon, and it sounds like this. So this is a much more subtle delay and it's more modulated than the previous one. So the mix I've got at 1 o'clock. The feedback is down at about 10 o'clock because we only want sort of one real audible repeat here. The time is set to just above midnight and I've tempoed this to 145 BPM. The preamp is once again off. The bliss is at the top of the tape control range, so we want full kind of tape modulation, and this is a regular 8th note delay, and I've brought the tone back a little bit just to darken this one up. Now this is actually a really, really simple riff because most of this is played by the bass. The only thing you're actually going to be playing is this chord. This is a G7 sus4 chord with a D in the bass. So to play this chord, you're going to bar across the 3rd fret. You can bar across as much of it as you want. I'm just doing it from the D string down, playing the 5th fret on the A string and the 5th fret on the G. And that's all there is to it. When we add the delay back in, you get that swell with that real audible chorusing effect. Very simple riff, but very effective use of delay. The third riff we're going to check out is an 80s classic that's another really simple riff, but this time we're utilizing the preamp of the pedal as well. This is I Ran by Flock of Seagulls, and it sounds like this. So for this one, I've got the mix set pretty high because I want those repeats to be very audible, and the feedback is set to about 1 o'clock because I want quite a lot of repeats. The tempo of this is 148 BPM, which is about there, but once again, I've tempo matched that with the tap tempo switch. I've got a very, very slight tape chorusing effect on there. The preamp is on, and it's at just above 2 o'clock. We're using a dotted 8th note delay, and the tone is unchanged from the last one. So the preamp of this will actually work without the delay on. So if I actually turn the pedal off, I'll actually get some overdrive. From just the pedal. I can turn the delay back on and it will bring the delay in. So this riff is really simple. It's just 2 chords. The first chord is barred across the 14th fret of the D, G and B strings. And I'm playing it like that with a single strike. That on its own doesn't sound like much. The riff actually comes from the delay. That I play on the 1 beat, and then the delay bounces it for the next bar and a half. The following bar, so the 3rd bar now, I'm playing this chord, which is the 15 on the B and E, and the 17 on the D, and we're muting the G with the underside of our 3rd finger. So if I play the riff without the delay, it's just going to sound like this. Which you can pretty much attest to, it's not the most fun sounding riff. If I turn the delay on, once again, very simple, but very, very effective. Sounds great in the full mix, and it really utilizes that preamp for some of the clipping tones. The 4th riff that I'm going to show you is another really great track to play if you're new to playing with delay, and this is Sweet Disposition by the Temper Trap, and it sounds like this. So to get this tone, I've got the mix at about 2 o'clock and the feedback about the same. We definitely want to hear the delay in this, but we don't want it to be as kind of swampy and wet sounding as the U2 one we talked about earlier. The time is tempo matched with the tap tempo to 129 BPM, roughly there on the control range. All of these songs are around about the same tempo, give or take 10-15 BPM. So this hasn't really moved that much for this video. So everything's kind of in that range, but I always urged tempo match with the tap tempo switch anyway. Preamp is off for this one. We're using a little bit of tape modulation from the Bliss control, and I'm on a dotted 8th note here, and I've actually turned the tone control up here to add some brightness. Now this, once again, is a really easy riff. It's 4 notes. So for this we're playing palm muted for the whole time. We're playing the 5th fret on the A string, the 4th on the D, the 5th on the D, and the 7th on the D. And we're just playing that over and over again. When we add the delay, this riff really comes to life. The delay really makes this riff because, again, it's a really simple one to play. The delay just helps everything come to life. The final one we're going to play is the trickiest one I'm going to show you today, and that is the riff from the Pink Floyd track Run Like Hell, and it sounds like this. So to get this tone, I've got the mix at about 2 o'clock, the feedback just below midnight, and the time is tempo matched to 118 BPM. So it's roughly in that same ballpark again, but I've brought it down slightly and tempo checked it with the tap tempo. The preamp is on, but in the minimum position because I just want a little bit of boost. I've got some tape echo. I've also got some tape chorusing from the Bliss control there. It's right up at the top of the range. And this is a dotted 8th type delay. And I've got the tone on full for this one. So to play this one, we're doing a combination of 2 different things. We're doing this galloping D note, which we're playing palm muted. So rhythmically we're going 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4. It's a combination of 16th notes and 8th notes to get that galloping effect. Every now and again you hear this slight rhythmic difference where it'll pick the 16th notes through the beat. That normally happens on the 3rd beat. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a. You'll have to listen out in the song because that does move at different points. On the 4th repeat of the riff, we've actually got this little rhythmic fill at the end of the bar. And that's just 3 on the D string, pull off to open, 3 on the A, 3 on the D. That's just played as 16th notes, and then we go back into that gallop. Then we've got this descending chord run. We're starting off at the 10th fret where we're barring the B and E, playing the 11 on the G, and we're playing the open D. And that's going to go to this D chord shape on the 9 of the G and E, 10 on the B, once again with the D open. Rhythmically we're going. So it's 1 and a. And then we're hitting this one on the of 2. And then we're hitting this one on like an offbeat, which is like the E of 2, 2E. So it's like 1 and a E. There's an offbeat there. We're repeating that rhythm as we go down this chord pan. So that's the first one. Then we go to the 7th on the G and E, 8th on the B, same D chord shape. Then we come to this shape, which is 5 on the E, 7 on the B and G. So that's our first part. The next chord shape is 5 on the B and E, 6 on the G. And that just comes down 2 frets to the 3rd and 4th, so it's the same shape. So altogether that'll be. Then we have an A to a D chord. But the rhythm of this one slightly changes. We're going 4 E and on the A, 1 again on the A. Then we're going to the D chord. We're playing it twice on the and of 1 and on the 2nd beat. So it's 1 and 2. So it's 4 E and 1 and 2. So here's that chord part all together. we're combining that with that open pedal D note. Then when we put that together with the delay, we get this. So there you go, there are 5 delay riffs to get you kickstarted with your delay pedal use. If you've never used a delay pedal before, this is a great place to start. As I said at the start of the video, the delay pedal that I've used is the Anasounds Utopia, which is an analog delay pedal with a couple of cool modern features. It's a really great pedal, and if you want to check this thing out, there are some links down below where you can do that. Go over to the Anasounds website, check out this thing. It's fantastic, and I really, really like a lot of the tones from this pedal. Let me know down below in the comments what your favourite delay riffs are. If there's any riffs I've missed out here that you think are great for people who are just getting started with delay, throw them below as well. While you're doing that, don't forget to hit the like button, and if you're new here, please hit that subscribe button too. Thank you guys so much for watching as always, and I'll see you soon.